why do you think right now America is failing so much coping with this pandemic?
So, at the heart of being able to make good decisions about being able to guide the public, you need data that's accurate. Okay? And so there's something about Taiwan CDC that wasn't able to get the WHO data, or rather wasn't able to trust it, that they had to themselves verify the accurate information. And then what they did, the GovZero effort, the efforts that Audrey was doing, was to open up the data. So people like myself that like to mess around with code, that like to create things, could go poke around, and if we saw that the data that they gave us was different than what we're sort of seeing in our communities,
right,
we would be able to challenge it. I mean, that's the interesting thing about Taiwan. Now, compare that with the US, where I'm from. The healthcare data was collected on the county level. It's a mess. The reporting standards are all over the place. The CDC just seemed to be completely incompetent at providing guidance, and it just created panic. Nobody can trust anything. And so I've just been really obsessed with this question, because essentially what the virus is it's about public health. And for public health to work, you have to connect personal private data with the public's right to know what's going on. So public information with private information, how do you connect these in a way that builds trust in both sides?
Is Taiwan really getting an international attention in terms of that we're doing this okay?
Well, I mean, I can just tell you what I'm hearing. So my friends in California, they keep calling me. They say, hey, Sean, I heard, Taiwan says wear masks. Is that why they're safe, right? Or they say, I heard Taiwan's not part of the WHO. Is that why you guys figured out what's going on? And I think the real reason is that the system that Taiwan had to create is an autonomous system. Like, they had to be able to filter information when they're being attacked from the outside with misinformation. They had to be able to connect the institutions to the people, such that the people trust the institutions and the institutions trust the people. Like when we went in here to get coffee, they took our temperature. They took our, they spray, alcohol on our hands. And I mean, I trust that they're doing that for my benefit, and I think the government trusts that they're doing that, right? And the combination of the top down and the bottom up in some ways is like the embodiment of democracy. Like, that's the point, right? Is that it's a connection of people and governance. And that's what the world's missing right now.
But you just said to me that not a lot of your friends know about Taiwan before this.
They didn't have any. I mean, they think Taiwan is like Taiwan made Nike shoes in the 90s. Like that's literally like what most of my friends think of Taiwan.
What's our international status right now?
Confused. They're really curious. Like, how could this little country, with more people, I mean, 8 times the people of New York City, or whatever the numbers are, right? It's how could this little country be able to resist this virus so incredibly? Like, what happened? Like, they're so curious about this. Like, what is it that allowed that to happen without getting people's freedom crushed, right? I think we saw another country's response that was very swift, very successful, but relied on crushing freedoms. And I think the average American just won't accept that. But there's also no other alternative to them. Like, what do you do? Like, what do you do if your institutions are pathological liars? Like, how do you rebuild that trust, right? And I think that we can look towards Taiwan and we can say that, look, here's a system that, at least in digital health, is unbelievable. It's a prototype of possible future information systems.
That's the dual way that the government and the people, they're collaborating with one another with openness.
Yeah, it's this mutually reinforcing, top-down, bottom-up data from the top, volunteering information from the bottom, respecting each other's rights, and I mean, just being like absolutely vigilant.
And that's what's lacking in the States right now?
I think what's lacking in the States is a system that allows the will and the ingenuity. Like, America is one of the most innovative places in the world, right? And we should be innovating our way out of this the way Taiwan did, right? Like, Taiwan had to innovate a new health system because they couldn't rely on the WHO. They couldn't rely on external systems. They innovated, they created one. And I guess my hope is that we can find a way to share what Taiwan actually did, like what this system actually did. So more countries in the world that have these sorts of values can learn from this.